What happened to the Cowsills?
The Cowsills' interest in music began in the late 1950s when their father, William Bud Cowsill, was working as a U.S. Navy recruiter in Canton, Ohio. Bob and Bill learned how to play the guitar on their own. The lads started playing at church school dances in Stark County, Ohio, as their musical and vocal abilities grew. The lads' first television appearance was on The Gene Carroll Show on WEWS in Cleveland as a result of these and previous performances. Bud and his wife oversaw their children's careers after Bud left the Navy and did so until 1967. The Cowsills were employed as a regular act on Bannister's Wharf in Newport towards the end of 1965. Many of the popular songs of the day, including songs by the Beatles, were performed by the ensemble. In 1965 and 1966, a small number of singles were issued on the labels Joda Records and Phillips Records, which were run by Danny Sims and Johnny Nash of the I Can See Clearly Now fame. The band was signed to MGM Records in 1967 thanks to Leonard Stogel's efforts when he took over management of them. Due to her small stature, Barbara earned the nickname Mini Mom from the band's fans. She joined the group just in time to record the band's debut album, which featured the hit song The Rain, The Park, and Other Things, with Bill singing lead. It received a gold record and has sales of over 1 million copies. The band swiftly rose to fame in the US because of the success of the song, and they also received a lot of airtime in England and other European countries. On the Billboard Hot 100, The Rain, The Park, and Other Things peaked at number 2. Between 1967 and 1970, the Cowsills issued 5 albums for MGM Recordings. The title tune from their second album, We Can Fly, which was released in the spring of 1968 after the success of Rain, their self-titled album, peaked at number 21. By this time, Susan had joined the group. Later on the same year, Wes Farrell's song Indian Lake, which peaked at number 10 on the US charts, gave them another top 10 hit. Bill and Bob produced the album it was on, Captain Sad and His Ship of Fools, which also saw Paul join the band. After the group's summer tour in September 1968, the family moved to Santa Monica, California. The renowned writer, producer, and actor Carl Reiner, who is creating the Wonderful World of Pizzazz television special, promptly sent them a copy of the Hair soundtrack album in the mail. The program intended to be a celebration of the era's hippie style and music. Reiner requested that the group perform Hair, the title song from the current hit musical, and noted that their appearance on the show would give them their performance a satirical edge due to the contrast between the squeaky clean family group and the song about long-haired hippies. The group viewed Reiner's request as more of an assignment because they were not familiar with the show at the time. The Cowsills' rendition of Hair was recorded over 2 days in early October 1968 at TTG Studios in Hollywood, where the TV firm producing the special was a regular client, following rehearsals at their home and demo sessions at SIR Studios on Santa Monica Boulevard. Leading rock artists like Jimi Hendrix and Frank Zappa came to TTG for its custom-built 16-track recorder, the only one of its kind in Los Angeles at the time. The song was arranged and produced by Bob and Bill in collaboration with house engineer Angel Ballister. They made sure that each member of the group was given the opportunity to contribute a unique vocal part to the recording, both in lead and background vocals, in order to ensure that each member would be visible on screen when the group performed the song for the TV special. At the conclusion of the last day of recording, Ballister mixed the mono track for the group to utilize during the special's filming, but MGM Records wasn't interested in releasing the song at that time. Bill had the song's acetate cut at DCT Recorders and was eventually played for a DJ at WLS AM in Chicago, where it garnered a lot of attention. On January 5, 1969, the TV program was recorded in San Francisco. MGM changed its mind and released the track as the March 18th air date drew near. The Cowsills in Concert, a live album that featured a stereo mix of Hair and was released on May 3rd during this time, was being worked on by Bill and Bob. It was the band's best-selling album. With this rendition of the musical Hair's title song, the band achieved a #2 US smash and million-selling status. The band performed an average of 200 times per year from 1968 to 1972. In 1968, Harvey Comics released their very own comic book. During the group's employment at a Las Vegas hotel, Bill was dismissed by his father after a disagreement over his friendship with Waddy Wachtel. The disagreement turned physical and resulted in Bud being arrested for assault. The Cowsills carried on as a unit, recording 3 more albums, 2 with MGM, one of which was a greatest hits collection under Bob's leadership, and 1 with London Records. The original band was reformed in 1972 after Barbara, Paul, and Susan left the group. They released 1 more single, Covered Wagon, but did not reach the top 40. Soon after, the Cowsills quit performing as a group due to a number of interpersonal conflicts. The individual members went on to pursue various careers both inside and outside the music industry, but they did make one performance as the Cowsills at Madison Junior High School in Tampa, Florida in the middle of the 1970s. While not as the Cowsills, some produced albums and occasionally performed throughout the rest of the 70s and into the 80s and 90s. One notable endeavor was the mid-70s band Bridie Murphy, which included Paul, Bill, Barry, and Waddy Wachtel, and played to varying degrees of success. Paul, John, Barry, Bob, and Susan were among the Cowsills who collaborated with producer Chuck Plotkin to record an album called Cocaine Drain in 1978. The album was finally published in March 2008 after being remastered from an acetate under Bob Cowsill's supervision. The 2008 edition also contained a number of other unheard songs. The power pop song Is It Any Wonder was written by the group's core 4 members and included in the widely acclaimed multi-artist compilation Yellow Pills Volume 1, The Best of American Pop in 1993. Susan, along with her first husband Peter Holzapfel and her second husband Russ Broussard, continued her musical career as a member of the Continental Drifters in the years after the band's breakup. In the middle of the 1980s, she was a part of Dwight Tilley's band. Today, she is the leader of her own group, the Susan Cowsill Band. Just Believe It, her debut solo album, was made available via Bluecorn Music in the latter half of 2005. She appeared in a Treme episode from the HBO series in 2011. John Cowsill has kept up his performing career as well. John has been a regular performer on drums and keyboards in the Mike Love iteration of the Beach Boys touring band since December 2000. He also sings lead vocals on a few of their songs. In earlier years, he performed with artists such as Jan and Dean and Dwight Tilley. Before forming the Blue Shadows, who released 2 albums for Sony Canada, Bill Cowsill relocated to Canada in the 1970s and found success there as a solo performer and as a member of Vancouver, British Columbia's Blue Northern. Paul Cowsill left music after working as a sound engineer for Helen Reddy to pursue a career in construction. Bob, Paul, John, and Susan reformed the Cowsills in 1990. Initially, they just intended to play the oldie circuit, but after some thought, they decided to show off new music instead. The band's iteration first performed at tiny clubs and showcases in the LA region before moving on to venues of a smaller size across the nation and into Canada. Just Believe It, Susan Cowsill's debut solo album, was released in 2004 in Europe and 2005 in the US. Before Game 4 of the 2004 American League Championship Series at Fenway Park in October 2004, Bob, Paul, Barry, Susan, and Richard came together once more to perform the national anthem. On April 28, 2013, the Cowsills were admitted into the Rhode Island Music Hall of Fame. And as of the recording of this video in 2022, the group consisting of Bob, Paul, and Susan, and occasionally John, still perform and are set to appear on the Happy Together tour with the Turtles and several other 60s era bands that I've covered on this channel. And that's what happened to the Cowsills. Thank you for watching, and like and subscribe if you haven't already. and let me know. Name me some facts that I failed to mention in this video, and the 5 most interesting facts that I failed to mention will be included in a short on YouTube and will be entered into a drawing at the end of the year, and the grand prize will either be a record of your choosing or a rock book that I will mention in a later video. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.